Militarily Speaking, episode 82, Stoutreach.
This episode, we talk with Jason Stout, founder of Stoutreach.
Welcome to Militarily Speaking, brought to you by Armed Forces Bank. I'm Tom McLean, and with me is Jodi Victory. I'm the Military Retail Executive for Armed Forces Bank, and Jodi is the Chief Digital Officer. And you know what today is?
Today is Tom's 18th anniversary with the company. I'm going to say that robotic.
Can we do like can we do a background like cheer noise or clapping? Yeah, 18 years. That's pretty long. That's a career.
That is a long time. Again, welcome to our show. We're excited to have you listening and learning all about our guest, Jason Stout. Hey, Jason, I want to take just a second and share a little bit about your bio, or a lot about your bio, with our audience. So bear with me. This is not a story that is new to you, but it will be new to our folks. Jason is the recipient of the 2024 Richard Louv Prize for Innovation in Nature Connection. He spent over 25 years guiding youth, adults, and professionals towards resilience, personal growth, and well-being through nature-based experiences. His journey began with personal loss, having endured the deaths of his sister, father, and grandmother before the age of 15. Well, it's a lot before the age of 15. He found healing and purpose through the outdoors, culminating in a transformative 78-day winter leadership expedition. This life-changing experience inspired him to create a national wilderness program for grieving and at-risk teens, which has been featured in Backpacker Magazine, the Denver Post, and the Associated Press. As the founder of Stoutreach, Jason develops immersive programs that integrate nature into daily well-being, helping individuals cultivate mindfulness, emotional resilience, and personal transformation. His work spans youth initiatives, family retreats, corporate wellness programs, and professional training. Committed to the Return to Nature movement, Jason partners with outdoor education programs to expand access to wilderness experiences for young people. He has worked to ensure that outdoor education and gap year programs can accept 529 college savings plans and AmeriCorps education awards, making transformational experiences more accessible. Jason has consulted for national organizations including Outward Bound, the National Park Foundation, and Children in Nature Network, as well as local programs like Jetco Public Schools. His expertise has led to interviews on the Nature Wellness podcast, and he is featured in the upcoming documentary In Our Nature. And then you can add you were on our podcast, Jason. Jason also serves as a youth programs advisor for the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, or TAPS, where he designs and leads transformative experiences for grieving military families, veterans, and active duty service members. His work continues to bridge education, healing, and nature-based growth, positioning him as a leader in the Return to Nature movement for mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Welcome, Jason. It is an honor to have you on our show. I want to first thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on your show. Thank you so much.
I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about Stoutreach. We'll get into some detail with our questions, of course, but kind of give them that big picture, 30,000-foot view of the organization and what your mission is.
Right. Well, Stoutreach is, a fairly new business. For the last, maybe since 2001, I've been in the field of outdoor education. Was laid off from Outward Bound, which is an international national organization that runs 7 to 85-day wilderness expeditions to inspire personal growth. And that's for kids. And they have a lot of scholarships. They provide full tuition scholarships for veterans, right? So you can go, and you're a veteran, it helps you transition back. And they have, I think, a lot of spaces open up, just came available for this summer and fall. And I also worked for a program here in Denver called Jodi's House, and it was created by Brian Griese, who was the Broncos quarterback, and it was named after his mom, Jodi. And Brian Griese was the first one to come in and support a program I had created within Outward Bound that was serving local grieving high school students on 7-day backpacking and rafting trips. And I got involved with that organization, started volunteering, but almost my entire career for Outward Bound, when I wasn't an instructor in the field, I was an outreach manager or national outreach director. And for Jodi's House with Brian Griese, I was their outreach and education manager. And really, that's about bringing resources to the community. And so when I was starting my own business, I thought I'd just call it Stoutreach. It was kind of my nickname at Outward Bound. My friends would call me Stoutreach.
That's clever.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
clever.
I took that name. And what it really is it was a way for me to continue the work that I've been doing for many years. And it's really connecting youth, connecting adults, military survivors, anyone to nature experiences and personal growth experiences. And I found early on in this career how impactful just even a little bit of time in nature is, right? So, and I wanted to carry that further. So it really, I got a call from a friend, Andy McNeil, who was the former executive director of the National Alliance for Children's Grief, and he's a good friend of mine. And he was hired by Bonnie Carroll and as the senior advisor to TAPS, and he said, come out and work for us. And so I have a contract with them. I'm an advisor, and I have other clients, but that's the one that I really spend most of my time supporting. And so I have like different programs that I support, and really it's just about getting kids out. It's about securing funding. I'm working with a program called Sky's the Limit Fund right now in Outward Bound. And what they've been doing is providing full tuition scholarships to get military survivors, high school and college students out on wilderness programs with Outward Bound. And some of them are doing 30-day program with 12 post-course life coaching sessions.
Wow.
So it's great. It's like we got TAPS, and they're getting all the support that TAPS does, and TAPS is amazing. Tragedy assistance program for survivors. But then they have also some other resources, and that's what I do. I pull that in. And Stoutreach is also, because I've been a facilitator, I've been involved with grief groups for kids and families ages 5 to adults, running those grief groups, peer support, which is very powerful and effective for many years, and combining that with experiences in the outdoors. Anywhere from, specifically with grieving children and adults, it's anywhere from an hour to 7 days immersion.
So great. And it sounds like you're very well positioned with the context that you've accumulated over time to help kind of bring resources from different places together for those folks. And I mean, that sometimes is half the battle, just making sure people know where to access.
That's right.
The resources that are out there, good people willing to help. You just got to make sure that we can connect them with one another for sure.
And that has been a gift. And I think that in being an outreach professional and being Stoutreach, it is really utilizing the network I've built for so many years. And there's just a lot of people that support the cause of supporting families that have had a death loss. And it's if someone contacts me and says, hey, I have a kid or family that needs support for this, to do something like what you do, then I call on my friends. And usually we come up with the money, and we get to send a kid out into the outdoors. And I can tell you this, what is so fantastic is just the impact it has, the life change, that getting away from the everyday and out into the outdoors with a group of people is absolutely life changing. And it's something that kids will think about for the rest of their lives.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Can you connect the dots for me on something with how it ties back to 529 plans?
Right. And so I like to do a lot of different things, right? And so really there's really 2 tracks that I followed in my career that I've specialized in. And one is well-being through nature experiences, more focused on grief. And then the other is business development. And it was as the national outreach director for Outward Bound, I was looking for new ways to reach more students. And one of those ways that I had discovered was that because you can receive college credit at Outward Bound, if you're 14 or older, 9th grade or higher, that you could utilize a 529 college savings plan to pay for it. So through Western Colorado University, who early on I said, hey, can we do this? We're accepting something called an AmeriCorps Siegel Award. Not a lot of them though. But Western Colorado University said, yes, we can accept that. And so then I started working on it, streamlining it, connecting with the financial planning community and the 529 community. And what it was great is 2013, maybe $20,000 came in, maybe a couple people used their 529. By 2019, Outward Bound had generated $1.9 million in revenue from families using 529s. And it's such a win because the kids, especially if you're in high school or you've taken some time off before college, to do that, you are getting college credit or concurrent college credit. And basically it goes through Western. Yeah. And so I've worked with programs like the College Funding Coach, and there's just some there's a Gift of College, and that's another program. And I just started connecting with that community, and they were very supportive. And even in Colorado College Invest, I went in and spoke with their CEO and who she's appointed by the governor. And I said, what do you think of this? They think it's amazing, because what it does is it gives more spending power to that 529, right? And by using that to send your kid on a wilderness expedition for the summer, just imagine the 16-year-old that goes out for 14 days, maybe 23 days, getting college credit, learning how to be self-reliant in the wilderness, work with a group of people, learning that he or she can face challenges they never thought. And now how do they go home? And how does that next school year go for them? Right? And they're preparing. It's preparing for life, and knowing that they have a lot of strength they might not have known about. And I'm bought in. I mean, you'll hear I'm passionate about it because I've been doing this for so long. I see the results. It's easy to talk about.
Yeah, I can hear it in your voice for sure.
Yeah. Did you get lucky when you found out that Western Colorado University was in with you? I mean, it seems like there's a message for our audience that says, how can this be so portable outside of the Denver area where it impacts other universities? Well,
I think here's the thing. For some reason, Western had some people that were in their extended studies office that were receptive to this and had been around for a while.
So yeah, it's who you know sometimes, and it's really sometimes it's timing in life too, right? When you get the right yes from somebody. It is. And when I've talked to that first person, she says, let's do this. And what's neat about it is it doesn't matter where the student lives. They can live all around the country. All they do is basically, let's say they're paying for a 14-day course. It's an added expense of $180 per credit. So that doesn't matter. They could be living in New York or California, and Western helps them, and they process that. And it's being a nonprofit's a struggle in itself. Now, getting kids to go outdoors, that's becoming more challenge. I can tell you right now that we're seeing that kids right now are spending only about 5 to 7 minutes per day out in nature doing unstructured play, right? In 1980, when I was 9 years old, we were spending 4 to 6 hours per day outside playing. And that was even on a school day. And you might relate. And it's just like, I just remember my dad would whistle and we come running, and it was the greatest time. And I think, and we see that there's a connection between how much time that we spend, even as adults or kids, how much time we spend in nature is connected to our mental health.
Yeah, we used to play outside until we couldn't anymore. My neighbor's mom had an airborne that she'd love to try and find us to get us to go.
Think about how many distractions there are.
Although my daughter my daughter's 16, and last night she said, I'm going to go outside for a little bit. Do you want to go with me?
And does she have a definition of a little bit?
Well, she said, the sun's out. I'm going to go outside. And I thought, well, your phone's in the house, so you're going to go out without it? And she did. I followed.
And she was okay.
Yeah. We lived to tell about it.
She survived.
Yeah.
Without a phone.
When I could tell you, I mean, it's being in this field and working with kids, you can see how much they actually love being outdoors versus the phones. I think they really want us to help them disconnect.
Yeah. She was out there running around with her dog.
And I think in your business too, Jason, if it's just one kid at a time, sometimes that's good enough.
Yeah.
You know, changing the way they think about nature and think about what escape routes from being wedded to the phone technology.
That's right.
Let's talk about LT Sandvik for a second, okay?
Good. I want to talk about LT.
We need stories.
I think my question to you is there anything we should know about him that is allowed to be in a broadcast such as a podcast?
Oh.
You don't have to answer that because LT might not want that.
You can cut it out later.
We can edit it for sure, but we all edit Jodi all the time. But we have Academy Bank, our sister bank here at Dickinson Financial. He does a great job for us out there at the Denver Tech Center. Does a great job in the community, does a great job with our clients, and just a lot of energy. So we appreciate LT.
Can I tell you what I like about LT?
Yeah.
Here's a couple things. This is why I decided to become a member of Academy Bank. One is because my business was going and I needed a card right away to travel. An event came up. And I found that I could get my card printed on the spot right there and open my account.
Instant issue debit card, huh?
Yes. Yeah. So that was number one. Then I walked in the door and there's LT. His office is up front. There's a desk up front, but then his office is right there. He can see everybody walking in. He stands up, walks up, says, "I'm LT. Welcome to Academy Bank." And then he starts asking me questions, and he is just the coolest, friendliest human being. And I really had this sense with him. He's there because he's trying to build community. And that's where he found his place. And so every time I'm there, he'll just come in my office and we start talking. He asks me questions. So I felt like he's the kind of person that I like being around in my life, right? And also I work with a lot of kids, and we recruit a lot of volunteers. And he has that he might not be a person that's worked with kids that I know of, but he's the kind of person that you want working with people because he sees them. He's just in tune. That's my pitch for LT.
That's awesome.
It's a shame we ain't recorded that part of this. So if you want to, you're going to start over. He's going to love hearing that.
This may be LT's favorite episode.
It's going to be memorialized forever. Then we'll have Jason back in the air and I'll say, "So how's LT doing?"
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah. I know Stoutreach does a lot of different things. We've already started to touch on several of them. We've come across a lot of what we consider hidden gems in the community, serving military families. Can you talk about programs that Stoutreach has that are specific for military family members, active, retired veterans, you name it, and what those look like?
So Stoutreach, as I start to evolve with this, is what's happening is when I first started working with the Tragedy Assistance Program for survivors, and that was really, I started working with them years ago because I had met, Tom talked about Bonnie Carroll, who's the founder of the Tragedy Assistance Program for survivors, at a conference on grief. And I said, "Hey, I have some money," because New York Life had funded the program I was running. And I said, "How about we'll pay for half, you pay for half, and we'll have a group of TAPS kids come out with us for a week together." And she said, "Okay, let's do it." So that's how our relationship started. And then starting as the youth programs advisor, or pretty much a program advisor for TAPS, walking into that community, it's a tight-knit military community. At first, it was kind of like, who is this guy? And I knew that. What I know now is, working with them, is I love the community. I love the military community and the people that we're working with. I see the challenges they have that are not normal to us that aren't in the military. The grief that they go through just because, someone in their house, probably dad, is serving overseas and gone, and children are going, "Hey, this isn't a normal childhood," or they have to move. Then with TAPS, it's that then they have someone die. So it's compacted. But I can tell you one more, I want to say something else, is what I've learned is that these families are special, and I see this strength in them, and I see the strength in the kids. With the Outward Bound program, where I'm talking to them after these kids are finished their courses, they're telling me they're incredible. They're like the kindest, most considerate, polite, and gritty. And I think they get it from the hardship. So right now, I'm not just serving the kids, I'm serving our volunteers, which they're called military mentors. They're veterans and active duty men and women who volunteer with TAPS to serve one-on-one with kids or serve with us as a group leader at our Good Grief camps. And when they come in and they're there, I'm supporting all of them. If they have something they want to do that I'm connected to, I will support them. Then what it is just reaching out, and I've just been connecting with more and more people in those programs that serve veterans, help them transition. And so essentially I'm kind of like a social worker, using the resources I have to create possibilities for anyone that I'm working with in the military community. And that one is, like I mentioned earlier, I just got off the phone with the director of student services, Aaron, in North Carolina, Outward Bound School. And they have a bunch of scholarships. So you could go on a 6-day expedition with all veterans, and it's $50. $50 just so you have some skin in the game. Right? But that's usually like $2,300, and they have a bunch of scholarships. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and you just imagine that's the part coming back, and just imagine being with a group of other people out in the wilderness where you can talk things out and be challenged together. It's a wonderful program. So what I do is I put out and try to disseminate that, because not all the veterans know we have that program available to them.
Yeah, I think that's half the battle, is awareness and how to get access to the I mean, there's good people doing good things and just connect with stops.
Right. I can tell you this, whether it is a veteran or a family or a kid that's gone through something, when it comes to grief, like the kids I'm working with mostly, there's nothing more disruptive in a life of a kid or a family than to have someone that you love die. And I really see is that there is nothing more powerful than spending even small doses of time out in nature, right? And just knowing that and seeing that for so many years, it's just what I've been dedicated to, and that's what Stoutreach is just bringing in those resources, because I don't want barriers, right? I want to make it easy for them to get in, to have these experiences and find the right experience for each person, right? Because it's really community. Like you have a tragedy assistance program for survivors. There's nothing like it. The way they reach out to families, all of the support that they offer, educational, like advising at every place. And then as a community, bringing all these resources and really, embracing that community and give them what they need. And it also inspires everything outside of the military community, because a lot of people right now are going through tough times.
That's true.
Financially, emotionally, right?
Yeah.
And I think one more thing is that we have a family that comes in, like right now we're preparing for the National Military Survivor Seminar and Good Grief Camp in Arlington, Virginia over Memorial Day weekend.
Is there information on your website about that?
I'll put it'll be on my website by the time this goes. And so what I could tell you is, like, last year we had 2,000 military survivors attend for the 30th anniversary. Last year we had 500 kids, and we had almost 400 volunteers those volunteers were people that were civilians, like educators, people that know how to work with youth and groups of youth, grief counselors, people that aren't afraid to have tough conversations. And then we had mostly veterans and active duty men and women. We had hundreds, like maybe 400 volunteer. So our group we were a group of almost 900 putting on this Good Grief Camp. And it's some great work. If you see it, it's so inspiring. And I hope the world can look at what we're doing, what TAFS is doing, and just be inspired to grow that in all of our communities.
Great. Jason doesn't sound like he's too passionate about what he does. So we'll have to work on it. He certainly wouldn't fit in a sales environment, right?
It is part sales, isn't it?
It is. I think even if you're in the back room in any industry, you're still in sales, because you have to sell your product for your job and sell your company.
Yeah, that's right.
So as an entrepreneur and a visionary, which I think you can check the box on both of those things, you've done a lot of almost philanthropic stuff, really. I think of you as being a nonprofit that's looking for ways to make a difference out there. And so what is in your DNA or your blood or your upbringing that makes you be so driven? Sort of the why, what makes you tick type thing is why are you doing this when you could work for New York Life and be a broker or something, or an insurance agent?
Boy, we'll find out when I'm in retirement. I might be questioning that. There is such a thing as retirement.
Well, not now, because if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
That's right. Okay, I'll tell you this. I love what I do. I don't have retirement. I will have to figure it out. I'll be working until whatever happens. And I've come to this place at 53 years old where I've really had to just accept it. It's more, to me, it's like, let's just go with this, because this makes me feel good. It's where I am. I have meaning and purpose. And I can tell you that it is a combination of being 4 years old and having my sister Maria die from a brain disorder. And I can still, that's 49 years ago. I remember her and our connection. And she was blind and she couldn't walk, and I would hold on to and love her. And she was just nothing like her, a force. And when she died, I struggled. I was afraid. I had nightmares. I was afraid everybody else was going to die and I was going to die. And I know that's heavy, but I think it's real, and we're all of us humans will experience that at some level. And being 4 years old, and I'll tell you that 4-year-old, I thought I had something to do with it. And that's really normal for a kid. I thought I had responsibility in her death. And I carried that with me for many years. I could tell you that 3 years after Maria died, my grandmother was murdered and by someone we knew. And then I really struggled and I was regressing. And I can tell you, I repeated kindergarten because of what I was going through. And then when I was struggling all the way through, my parents, their marriage fell apart. When I was 14, my dad died and I found him. And at that point, I was just holding on, and I was struggling in school, and I was really not seeing that it was because of my experiences, but thinking it was because I wasn't equipped. When I was in high school, I decided, hey, school's not good for me. I can't focus, beating myself up. So I joined the Navy, wanting to be a Navy SEAL, but found out I was colorblind months into the delayed entry program. And then I was really devastated because I was kind of telling everybody how great, I was going to be. And then I joined the Marines at the Navy's encouragement, the recruiter, and somehow a medication that I had been prescribed when I was 15 didn't get caught. And on the way out, they said, hey, you've been prescribed Theophylline. That's for asthma. And I said, no, I had bronchitis. But the doctor at the military processing, the MEP center, just said, hey, sorry, you're out. So then all my friends have gone to college. They're doing their thing. And I end up taking my old job selling young men's clothes at a retail department store, ADF. And that's fine. I appreciate the work, but it was humiliating. I was at a low point in my life. And somehow things changed for me. And it started with taking up a job in forestry, an urban forestry crew, and started focusing on trees and trimming trees. And I was a large tree trimming crew. And then a friend of mine there said, why don't you come rafting? My dad and I we raft. We're going down the Arkansas River. And I'm like, I'll go. Blew my mind.
Hey everyone, if you're looking for a little extra financial flexibility to take the family on a vacation, tackle that home renovation, or just get through the ups and downs of military life, we've got some great news for our military listeners.
Absolutely. Armed Forces Bank offers access loans that are perfect for handling life's unexpected expenses, consolidating debt, or even making that big purchase you've been thinking about. And with our fast approval process, you can get the funds you need quickly and easily without all the hassle.
At Armed Forces Bank, about 75% of our team is affiliated with the military, so we understand your unique needs. We've been supporting military families for over 100 years, and we're here to help you take control of your finances.
Whether you're active duty, a veteran, or a reservist, we're committed to offering you flexible terms and competitive rates, making sure you get a loan that fits your life.
So if you're ready to take that next step, head over to afbank.com or visit a branch near you. Armed Forces Bank, serving those who serve.
Member FDIC, subject to credit approval. Origination fee applies. Direct deposit relationship required. Loan terms are based on loan amount.
Blew my mind. And I was so frightened.
The Huckleberry Finn days, is that right? Or something like that? Tom Sawyer? Yeah.
It's like Tom Sawyer. Yeah. No, but it opened up something in me. And then I could tell you that I started going out and I started backpacking, hiking. I went to guide school for rafting. I went out looking for grizzly bears in Yellowstone, and we found one. And we made a conscious decision to do that? Yes. I wanted adventure. There was something I needed it for me to get what this ache I had in my heart and this frustration. And we found a grizzly bear in Yellowstone. It was amazing and frightening. And then just that journey went on. And eventually I stumbled into Outward Bound with the wilderness program. And I decided, I started working. I was doing admissions there, which was sales. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go take a 78-day semester course with Outward Bound. And they gave me a scholarship. I had to sell my car for half of it. And then they gave me the other half. And I went out for 78 days. And it absolutely, it changed more than my life. It changed my DNA. And it gave me this place where I felt so confident and on fire to just do something. Then I did an internship in Montana. I instructed struggling teens programs. And then I started the Grieving Teens program because out there I was like, this is what I'm going to do and what I'm here for. And the first year I didn't raise enough money, had to cancel it. Second year I raised the money. Third year, Brian Greasy stepped in. Loved Brian Greasy for that and said, let's do this. And so we started with 7 kids out in the wilderness. Then the next year we had 20. Then the next year we had 140. And I was lucky because Brian Greasy's organization, they said, Jason, you do outreach here, go into the schools, meet the kids, build our community, give them support. And then in the summer, you can work up in Leadville, Colorado at 11,000 feet at the Outward Bound Base Camp running this partnered program. I feel good. I have momentum in life, and I'm loving this because now with 25 years of experience, I can see what's happened to the kids I've worked with.
Yeah, true.
I think it's, in some ways, you've answered parts of what I would have asked you next, but if there's any blanks you want to fill in, you've been doing this for a while, and I can hear it in your voice how much it means to you. How do you continue to advance that mission? You've talked about the work with Brian Greasy, and that came along with Red
And TAPS, yeah.
And TAPS.
Yeah.
And so how do you continue to advance that mission, whether it's through partnerships, word of mouth, other channels? And then how do you think about measuring success in what you're doing and how you're approaching it?
Every day I'm learning. I think that this last year, the award that you mentioned, the prize, the Richard Louv Prize for Innovation and Nature Connection, that Richard Louv wrote a book, and you should pick one up. I highly recommend it.
Tell me.
It's called Last Child in the Woods, Saving Our Children from Nature Deficit Disorder. He's a hero of mine. He has Nature Prescription. I mean, he writes great books. He helped me to develop a language around this, and it was very inspirational. So what happens with that is that put me out there a bit and helped me to connect with the National Park Foundation. And they had me training park rangers in how to connect and support kids with all that's going on. Then we have a documentary coming out called In Our Nature, and Richard Louv will be in that documentary, and that should come out this summer.
How could people access it when it comes out?
I mean, I'm going to be putting it on missionstoutreach.org. Right now, it's fun because this film crew did this, and it's about like the environment, but it's really focused on people, 4 different people out there connecting with kids and getting them outdoors. And the focus on me is the mental health grief piece. But I also have basically been raising money through the Sky's the Limit Fund with them, or they're raising the money and trying to build more awareness, reach more kids. Outward Bound is really trying to give more scholarships, get more kids out. TAPS, what we're doing for that Arlington event is we're doing a 20-day, 20-minute challenge with the kids, which is going to be fun. We're challenging them. We're doing Healing in Nature, Foundations of Well-Being, which is to take it to them. They know and they're learning that they can't be passive in their own healing. And that means they have to have something they can do on their own every day to take care of themselves physically and psychologically, right? So it includes shifting a mindset to a growth mindset. It includes having gratitude, to spending time with trees. There's all sorts of benefits about being amongst trees. They're going to be grounding, so walking barefoot on the ground. They're going to be doing breath work, so mindfulness, gratitude. So it's part of a practice that we're teaching them at the mall in Washington, D.C., where they will integrate that into a 20-minute, at least 20-minute a day practice, and hopefully and we send it out digitally to their parents, mostly moms. The kids will get a paperback piece of that. If anyone wants to support that, it's a few $100. I'm raising money for that. But anyway, they'll each get that in there, and it'll draw it out. I'll have activities for them, and we'll challenge them. And then they're going to send us back photos and just have fun with it and say, how did it go for your 20-minute challenge, 2020 challenge? Isn't that fun? Then also with that, what I've been doing locally, because I have worked in schools, is I really am hoping to do something in this Denver community with our public schools to teach educators how to do what I'm doing. Because you just think if they can get out with their kids and connect them to nature as part of their class, then it's just one day. It's a 1-hour thing that I show them how to do. Then they have a better connection with their kids, and they're talking about self-care. And I want it to become a program that all schools can use and all schools might incorporate nationally to really kind of push back on the digital addiction, right? And to also just create a healthy way of seeing life, very growth focused, right? Not just resilience, but hey, resilience is bouncing back. When you want to have a growth mindset, it is about, this has happened to me, now how can I grow from it? And that can be done simply. And I love it. I know I'm just rambling on here, but what I've discovered is that I love the 7 to 8 day longer programs that I can do with Outward Bound. But there is a power in having an hour and a half or an hour and really having a creative experience for our kids and really just putting some ideas in front of them that they can use for the rest of their lives when they're stressed. right? Like even today for you two, maybe you're stressed. Maybe you're thinking, maybe I need to go outside and touch a tree for a second to really lower blood pressure, whatever, right? And that's what we should all be doing.
Tom does raise my blood pressure.
Yeah, so she's outside a lot during the day.
Keep a tree in my office, but yeah. There is something for that though, like just being outside.
But it's a discipline. It's sort of that military discipline, right? 20-minute thing.
I love the consciousness of what he's talking
It becomes
about.
a behavioral change.
Be intentional about being outside.
Right. Well, because if you do an hour and a half, and I have to them, and I'm all about impact, right? And I want not just like, hey, this is this, right? And I can see the change in their eyes. I mean, I have a group of 5-year-olds, and I say, I was so scared when my sister died. I was afraid my mom would die. And they're all talking and everything. And all of a sudden, when I say that, they go, whoop, and they get focused. I'm talking to them in a way that they are actually wanting me.
It's real. Yeah.
It's real. And then when you say, hey, this has happened, this is the disruptive part. Now, this is the power you have. And we don't all have access to a therapist every day. Or there might be a financial barrier. There might be a time barrier. The kid might not even want it. But what they can do is they can walk outside. And you think like what I do is I really do a good job of talking about creating that sense of awe in a tree. That, hey, the kids will say it's oxygen. It's shade. Oh, yeah. But it's also they're producing something called a phytoncide, which we're absorbing and we're breathing in. And pine trees or evergreens produce more than any tree. And if you walk in a forest just for a few hours, like my daughter Charlie and I, who's 13, did this weekend for about 4 hours in pine trees, there's research that shows that it can change or increase your sense of well-being physiologically and psychologically for up to 30 days. Right? That's powerful medicine.
Never knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then now they hear this and they're going, wow, right? And then they walk outside and they see that tree because maybe they're ruminating or negative loops. Something's going on. Maybe it's not about grief. Maybe it's about something else. But now they see that tree and automatically, by association, they feel this comfort. And trees are everywhere. So there's a lot of intention and a lot of thoughtfulness and research that we're doing to support what these programs look like.
You mentioned going to the schools, sort of, I guess, preach the word about the value proposition of this, and kind of reminds me that maybe we use the term playbook around here. Put together that playbook for those, or train the trainer, as we sometimes call it, do that. Put a playbook together for how they carry your message and put those business practices in place to improve the lives of the kids.
That's what we want. But what's so cool about that, Tom, is that it's a way to actually take care of those educators as well and those counselors at the schools, because that's how I do it. Like, here's some skills and some knowledge you might find helpful in working with kids that are going through something or not, just self-care. But this applies to you. And they always do come up to me and say, hey, this is something that I'm going to use. I have my kids, my challenges. And then what's great about it is then they're looked after, right? And I think that, and then when you become conscious, you say, I'm providing this experience for these kids. And all of a sudden your own life starts to shift. You start to take care of yourself like I do. I mean, I can't talk about this. I'm in DTC. I could walk to Academy Bank in about 15 minutes. And I sometimes walk right over there because we have some cool trees and water structures. And I'll walk with my daughter barefoot. And she takes me, and when it's raining, she's like, Dad, let's go, take off your shoes and let's go for a walk. And it is a way that bonds us. And it's good for our health.
Who's the wide receiver on the Bills? Hollins, right? He goes barefoot. Am I right?
I don't know, but I'm going to look it up when we're done.
Oh, he walks in the tunnel.
He walks in the tunnel barefoot, but he walks on the field barefoot too.
Yeah.
It's almost like he wants to be one with nature when it comes to that too. So there's a fact for you, Jason.
He knows that there's negative ions that are released into your feet when you're not wearing insulation on your feet.
Wait a minute. He just gave me a really intelligent response to why he does that.
Yeah. Well, because right now, you think about this, right now, you're sitting in this office and it's emitting positive ions, which are actually not good for us. You have thick shoes maybe, and then you're insulated. You don't get the negative ions coming up walking barefoot or being around water, like waterfalls. That's why people are drawn to waterfalls and ocean and lightning storms. It's emitting negative ions, which make us feel better.
People do gravitate to lightning storms and the waterfalls.
Yeah.
It's kind of soothing. I feel like a 2 o'clock infomercial because he's it's just relaxing talking to Jason. So we're going to stay with you for another 6 hours. So let's go to, it's www.missionstoutreach.org. So when people go out to your website, give us a couple nuggets as to what they'll see. Not to talk about the Denver Nuggets, but they had a good win last night too. So,
so the website's not extensive, but what you'll see is you'll just find information about what I do. And I think that if you're really gravitating to this message that I have, then you'll find information on there, how to reach me. I will support you if you want to do something out in nature. You have a group of people, anything you want to do to get involved in this return to nature movement. And also, I have programs up there. There's the 529 Advantage link that you can find on there, which is programs that accept 529s, including Outward Bound. You'll find resources, and the website's ever expanding. And as I get more into this and I learn more and I'm inspired more, you can plan on seeing a lot more content on that website. But I just hope people will reach out and say hi and tell me if they want to get involved in this in some way. Also, with Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, to volunteer with kids, you have to have experience working with youth, right? We'll train you how to work with grief, right? If you want to volunteer one-on-one with the kids, you have to be a veteran or active duty or in active duty. If you want to volunteer as an organization, a company at one of our regional events, then that's more of supporting us logistically, showing up. We call it a yellow shirt, right? Everything's shirts. The staff wear black shirts. The mentors are blue shirts, our group leaders are white shirts, our kids are red shirts, and our yellow shirts are so important because they come in and they support us logistically. And these are big events and they move fast, and it's just a way for us all to interact as a community. And of course, not for me, but I'd say for Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, it is a great organization. If you want to put a little money in and invest in some program, nonprofit, that is one I would highly encourage the listeners to look at. And it's like, yeah, and it's just their great work, and they're a model, and we're becoming more dialed as time goes on.
Well, that kind of leads into my next question. So well played.
he did that. He knew in advance.
I know. Well, good transition. So what does all this play out to look like in 5 or 10 years from now?
Well, this program I was talking about, I mean, the multiple pieces here is, one is the program I'm talking about in schools. I see that as being run at different schools or counties throughout the country.
I do too.
And really, and I think really working with a collective of programs, businesses and nonprofits like the Children and Nature Network and Outward Bound and TAPS and Sky's the Limit Fund and more, to really come together and focus on the health benefits of spending time outdoors, but also working in our communities to make it accessible so people know they don't have to necessarily go out for extended time, that it's a daily practice. I feel like we're going to have an impact on mental health and well-being and a return to that through learning how to do stuff we can implement every day. And so I want to expand my reach. And, that part of that Richard Lou Prize was for scaling. And I want to scale this, and I want to develop more programs serving our military survivors and military community in general that introduce them to this kind of self-care in nature. That's it. I want to reach as many people. And I also love being open, and I love when people contact me. Have you thought about this? And should we do this? And I love doing that because that's what I'm here for. And I want to help. And I also say this last thing is that it's about nature. It's about community. And when we are healthier, when we have community, we are healthy. I should have mentioned that service is up there with all those other gratitude, grounding, tree bathing, or forest bathing, service to others. And and when you open the door for someone, how you feel connected to that person, right? So it's as small as that. And then you think about really getting into the community. And I think so it's focusing on building opportunities for people to serve. And I think it's focusing on helping people find their purpose. It doesn't always have to be the job you're in, but there is a way to find purpose and meaning in your lives, no matter what you do for work, right? It's every day. You just got to see, hey, this is really where I'm sitting and this is my community. How am I going to help my community and help the people around me? And when we do that, we feel better. We have less depression. We have less anxiety. That is the cure.
Very true.
We look at our podcast library and think about the Give an Hour, the Bonfire Warrior Program, the Warrior Expeditions, Project Healing Waters. And there's a lot to be said about what Jason's doing for the community he serves and the good work that he's doing.
So
But I have to believe there's a story. We're going to, as we wind this down, Jason, is there a story that in your travels and in your nature that you want to share with our audience that has been impactful for you or that you've made an impact on others?
I think that beyond just the collective number of stories and just the years of and just lots of little stories, that there's some things in my life in this work that stand out. And I think one of them, it would be and this is years ago when we were in Leadville, Colorado. This is a group of kids I was taking up, and I was really learning then, right? And part of that is like we spend a couple days at base camp. We do things like send messages down the river to our loved ones that died. And that's connection
so cool.
to nature. Yeah, you find your person in nature, right? So then part of that program, there's the grief work that we weave into it. Then there's the outward bound side of it. And this would be a great example, is walking up a mountain. One of the mornings we hike up a mountain, a 14,000 foot peak. We call them 14ers here in Colorado. And you got to wake up early because you got to get down before the lightning storms come in. But the kids don't always like that. Hey, it's 4:30 in the morning. Let's get going, right? But just thinking about one of the stories when there's a group of kids and they did not want to go. And it's like, hey, but I got to tell you something. Today, what we're doing is we are dedicating this hike up this mountain to our person that died or anyone we want to, right? And here's some athletic tape. Write the name of that person on this athletic tape, and you can stick it to the top of your boots, your helmet, your ski poles that we use to make it up the mountain. And there we go. We start early in the morning before the sun comes up, climbing up a 14,000 foot peak, and it's tough. And it's like, it takes all of your energy. And if you haven't done it before, you just want to quit because you don't think you can do it. And just imagine this group of kids, group of 10, marching up this mountain and doing it and not quitting because they're doing it for that person that they love. That every step, when you're dedicating it, what I realized, because I did this activity over and over again, is that by dedicating it to someone, you have to accept the idea that you're giving a gift to that person. Then you start to think, maybe that person is not totally gone from my life. Then we're hiking up this, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're never going to make it. And it's hours and hours and hours later, we get to the top in Leadville, Colorado, on top of the 14er. And then looking out over the valley, the Arkansas River, you can see it flowing through Mountains Valley. They're thinking like, that's the river we sent our messages down to our loved ones, right? They start to feel this very deep connection. And there was this one year where these two kids who really connected, that because their moms had died from cancer. So we placed them together because they had a similar death loss that they could talk about. And they're up there and they're figuring out what they're going to do to kind of have a ceremony, right? Everybody's doing their own thing, making their meaning. And these two kids, they yell out as loud as they can, I love you, Mom.
Yeah.
I miss you, Mom. And then it was like silent. Everybody's just looking at them. It's silent. We're all feeling it. And one of the kids, Joe, looks at the other and he says, I think they heard us. And and that right there, that was happening over and over again. So we were creating that environment. But this is what's so great, is that these two kids were in so much pain and suffering that their loved one, their moms, felt like a million, trillion, billion, infinity miles away. And then on top of a mountain together, what they feel, what they realize is that, yes, Mom has died, but she's still here with me. The relationship continues in some way, right? It doesn't happen as fast unless you're out in nature. And that's what I love it for. And that's called a continuing bond. It's very important in the grief experience, continuing bond. It means that you're in a place where you're starting to you're healing, right? You're working on it. There's no one way. It's not linear. Grief is messy. Everybody grieves differently. It's a lifelong journey, but that is an important experience. Then we're walking down the mountain and one of the kids turns to me and says, that was the most stress relieving experience of my life. Right. And that's what we're talking about. That's the work that Stoutreach is invested in doing and wanting to expand. And I am an LLC, but I run like a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I wanted to get up and going and I wanted to do my own thing and I wanted to have my own reach. And I love it more than I've ever loved anything in my life. My life is great because of what I'm talking about. And also from the support of people like LT
You speak like you're in a nonprofit because it seems like just you're selfless and you sacrifice a lot for others. So well done.
Thank you.
Stoutreach, clever dude.
Yeah.
And that was, it works. That's his calling, is to be able to say, this is what I do. It's in my name.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that the picture you painted of 5 to 10 years from now is going to be true.
I know. He's got the passion
You've
for
got
it.
the feel for it, and that's evident in everything you described for us today.
Church, the big Steph Curry. And I think that's pretty clever, Victory. All right, let's play a game.
See what I deal with here?
She wouldn't have it any other way, Jason. That's why she shows that's why.
I'm going to have to go outside after now. Now you know that's where you've caused me stress.
And I see a lot of nature out there.
We're downtown Kansas City, so there aren't a lot of trees, but I will find one at least. So we do have a game to play. If you're game, the Military Minute. And so last podcast, this is a question you can't answer if you know the answer, but my guess is nobody would know the answer unless that you were so compelled.
No, he'll know the answer. He's smart.
But it was about the American Legion, because we had the American Legion on last time. And the question was, which president's son started the American Legion in 1919?
No, now you're checking my history.
Yeah, that was your major. So yes.
I wish my daughter was here. Where are you, Charlie? Who was president?
Who was president around that time?
I just want to guess. Would you know if you didn't have that?
No,
If I didn't have it here on this piece of paper, I have no.
I knew it before I looked it
Tom
up.
write the questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was before the Depression.
There's a plus or minus of 50 years in here, okay?
When was Hoover president?
That
Jodi?
probably wouldn't guess Hoover.
Calvin Coolidge? I'm just trying to, everything that, after Roosevelt, or before, let's see.
Which Roosevelt?
Well, it would be Teddy.
Winner, chicken dinner.
You got the answer.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I should know that. I love Teddy Roosevelt. He's a nature guy.
Well done.
As long as you didn't say Franklin Pierce or something like that, or Howard Taft.
No.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh my goodness. Well done you. Well done you. So if you were in our audience and you also had Theodore Roosevelt as your answer, watch for your name to be posted as the lucky winner of $50 for yourself and $50 for a charity of your choice. And now for this week's Military Minute question, you can't answer this one. And I'm not at all sure where the question came from, to be honest, Tom, but I'm going to ask it, so don't answer it. So this week's Military Minute takes us to a question about Colorado State University. I'm assuming the question...
He went to Colorado State University. Is that correct? Can I fact check myself?
For a bit, yep.
CSU.
Listen, but you can't answer.
Don't answer it.
This is for our audience for next time. What are the 3 former names of Colorado State University? Based on
that look, he's going to have to Google it
He's
too.
going to have to Google it. So if you're in an audience and you're near a computer and can type in google.com, what are the 3 former names of Colorado State University? And if you answer correctly, we'll tell you next time what those answers are. You too could be selected to win $50 for yourself and $50 for a charity of your choice. We stumped him, man.
He's bummed out. He's got to get closure and find out what it is.
Yeah.
Don't answer it though. But thank you. Well done. I'm so glad LT introduced you to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we appreciate the intro. And you've done good work, and you're going to do fantastic work going forward. So thank you, Jason. And if you enjoyed today's episode, as much as Jodi and Jason did, go out to afbank.com and subscribe to the show. Make sure to rate us, leave us a comment on your favorite platform, such as Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Jason?
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Yes. Bravo.
Likewise. Thank you. I appreciate you both.
Right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jodi. Thanks, Tom. Take care. Bye.
Copyright Armed Forces Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. All non-Armed Forces Bank owned apps, websites, company names, and product names are trademarks or registered trademarks of their respective owners. Their mention does not imply any affiliation with or endorsement by Armed Forces Bank of them or their products and services. They are merely used as examples of the many available apps, companies, and websites that offer similar services. Before using any app or website, you should carefully review the terms of use, data collection, and privacy policy. Apps may have an initial cost or in-application purchase features. This information is general in nature and is not intended to be legal, tax, or financial advice. Although Armed Forces Bank believes this information to be accurate, it cannot ensure that it could change. Statements or opinions of individuals referenced herein herein are their own, not Armed Forces Bank. Consult an appropriate professional concerning your specific situation and respective governing bodies for applicable laws, such as IRS.gov for current tax law. Armed Forces Bank, the Armed Forces Bank logo, and the Militarily Speaking logo are registered trademarks of Armed Forces Bank.